Hi friends, this is Devang here. So finally, after the cancellation of May 20 exams and all the fiasco for July and August exams and all, finally ICAI is now ready to conduct the exams in November 20, and accordingly I hope you all are also now very much more than ready to appear for the exams in November 20. In fact, I should say that you should be now eager to give exams in November 20. For that matter, your preparations must be going on in full swing, especially the students who are now appearing for the exams. So my today's video is just for requesting you to add a few more things in your preparations. Yeah, recently, a few days back, ICAI just released the RTPs, that is revision test papers, for the November 20 exams. You know, RTP are a very important revision for the upcoming exams. Yes, for the upcoming November 20 exams, RTP will form part of a very important revision. My today's video is just to get you aware, get you know about what is there in this year's RTP. Yeah, you know, at this point now, that is almost it is almost less than 40 days to your exams, and at this point, time is most important resource that you have. You need to use your time very wisely now. In fact, I can say that time is like your key factor now. I hope you remember what is key factor from your costing subject. So considering that your time is now very valuable, very important, I have made this video today to save your time while doing the RTP of costing subject at CA intermediate level. Yes, CA intermediate level costing subject, also called as cost and management accounting. I'll be discussing few questions of the RTP for November 20 exams. Yeah, in fact, I'll make your work very short for today's session, and chalo, anyways, if I have to make your work very short, then without getting it more delayed, let us make it little short. So I've made a summary for the November 20 RTP over here. Total 15 questions in your RTP, and I can show you here that out of 15 questions in your RTP, chalo, 15th question is a theory question, but out of 15 questions in your RTP, 8 questions are direct from my book. 8 questions are entirely direct questions from the book that I have given you. Naturally, numbers will be changing, figures will be changing, but it is exactly the same kind of questions that we have in the book. Yeah, I've also given you the reference of the page numbers of my book there. So out of 15 questions here, if you have prepared my book very well, if you have prepared my entire book sufficiently well, then out of that 15 questions, 8 questions you can completely skip, save your time there. Yeah, apart from that, out of the remaining questions also, dekho, some questions like question 4, 9, 13 and 14 have as such nothing new to learn. It is a basic level question, so basic question that it doesn't even appear in my book. Yeah, so that question is also very basic level questions which you can skip, but the important ones, new questions here, are question 2, question 3 and question 8 from the RTP. Yes, these questions are the new questions in the RTP. New questions because they have, yes, something new, and these new questions I will be discussing right now. Yes, as such, I will be discussing almost all questions, but I will not be discussing the questions which are directly coming from my book. Yeah, question 1 in your RTP is from materials chapter, and it is exactly equal to my question in my book, page 4.10, question 8. Yes, if you don't have the latest version of my book, don't worry, I have added that in the description of my YouTube video here. Yeah, okay. So that question 1 is exactly same, I'll not be discussing. Question 2 and 3, labor and overheads, yes, I will discuss. Question 4 also activity based costing, I'll show you. Question 5 is from cost sheet, and this is exactly equal to my question on my book, page number 1.08, question number 5. Yeah, this also I will put that in my description below, so you don't need to copy anything. I will have everything perfectly designed for you so that you can save your time. Yep. Question 6, cost accounting system, again comes from my book, page 13.88, question number 15. It is about reconciling my costing profit and financial profit. Yep. Question 7 is about job costing, batch costing, that is about economic batch quantity. Remember something like EOQ. Again, that comes directly from my book, page 11.09, question number 10. Question 8 is again job costing, batch costing. Very good question. I'll discuss right now. Question 9, process costing. Again, a basic level question, but still I'll discuss. Question 10, 11 and 12. Again, directly from my book. That is from Joint Products, Byproducts. Question 9. Service costing. Question 12. And standard costing. Question 22, 23. Both are also similar to this question here. Yeah. Then question 13, marginal costing, and question 14, budgetary control. These two are again basic level, but still I'll show you a discussion. And question 15 is a theory question. Theory topics are also entirely covered in my book, in my theory portions. Done? Yes. So chalo, as of now, first I will start with discussion of the three most important questions of this RTP. Yeah. First of all, question number 2 is what I discuss. Okay, now this is your RTP here. I've had that on my screen. And question 1, as I said, is materials chapter. It is exactly from the book that I have given to you. So I'm skipping that question. Question 2 is from the labor chapter, and this question is pretty much new. It is somewhat similar to the question, classwork question 1 of my book. Let me just write that also here. It is somewhat similar to my classwork question 1. From my book. Let me see if I can find that here. Yes, this was my book, and in my book, my classwork question 1 was like this. It was about various parts of cost which comes under labor cost, various components of labor cost. Yeah. So my RTP question 1 is also similar to that classwork question 1. I've just written that here, page 5.01, question 1. It is similar, but still we will discuss the full question here. We'll read. GZ Limited pays the following to a skilled worker engaged in the production works. The following are the employee benefits paid to the employee. You are given the details of the salaries paid to your employees. Basic salary per day rupees 1000. Dearness allowance is 20% of basic salary. HRA is 16% of basic salary. Transport allowance is 50 per day of actual work. Okay. Overtime. Interesting. देखो, overtime is twice the hourly rate, not daily rate, and hourly rate considering basic plus dearness allowance. Okay, and that also overtime is paid only if he works more than 9 hours a day. Otherwise, no overtime allowance. So only if the total working is more than 9 hours, then only overtime is paid. More than 9 hours, not even equal to 9 hours. Okay. And if he works for more than 9 hours, if he works for more than 9 hours a day, then overtime is considered after the 8th hour. Yes, so if he works for more than 9 hours, then only overtime is to be paid. But do you pay overtime on the hours after 9? No, you pay overtime on every hour after the 8th hour. Yeah, that is the condition here. Further, work of holidays and Sundays. If the worker works on holidays or Sundays, then you pay double per day basic rate. Double of per day rate, not per hour, per day. But per day what? Only the basic. So you pay double of per day basic rate, not basic plus dearness allowance. Only basic rate double I will pay. What is my basic rate? 1000 per day. So during Sundays and holidays, I will pay 2000 per day. Yeah. Provided you pay 2000 per day, double, I'll just mention that here, double per day basic rate, that is 2000 per day, because basic rate was 1000 per day. Double of the basic rate is 2000 per day, but you pay that provided he works at least 4 hours. So on a Sunday, if he comes and works for only 1 hour, you don't pay him anything. Yes, Sundays, holidays and Sundays, basic is eligible for all allowances and statutory deductions. Okay, so in short, the basic pay that you pay, the basic salary that you pay for Sundays and holidays will be just like any other basic salary. Yeah, it will be added to your routine basic salary only. Okay, earned leave and casual leaves, these are paid leaves. So casual leaves, if the employee has applied for, it will be a paid leave, so he will be paid for the leave days also. Employer's contribution to provident fund is 12% of basic plus DA. Employer's contribution to pension fund is 7% of basic and DA. Look, employer's contribution is also eventually a salary that the worker will earn. He might not get it in cash right now, but it is part of his earnings. Yeah. The company normally works 8 hours a day and 26 days in a month. The company provides 30 minutes lunch break in between. Okay, so if the company works 8 hours a day, but in every day there is 30 minutes lunch break, so can I say effective working will be effective working will be 7.5 hours per day. Yes, my working time of the worker is only 7.5 hours per day. Okay, during the month of August, Mr. Z, now you are given details about this particular guy, Mr. Z. Until now, what you were given were general details of the company. Now what you are given is specific details of Mr. Z. Mr. Z works for 23 days, including 15th August and a Sunday. 15th August is a public holiday, that is Independence Day in India, assuming that this guy is in India. And Sunday is also a public holiday, but he worked on 15th August as well as on that Sunday. Okay, and applied for 3 days of casual leave. So consider this guy, he worked for 23 days and he applied for 3 days of casual leave. He has actually worked, he was actively working for 23 days plus 3 days he applied for casual leave. Okay, on 15th August and Sunday he worked for 5 hours and 6 hours respectively without lunch break. Okay, now during that holiday and Sunday he worked for 5 hours 6 hours. Now your condition here was that during holiday and Sunday, if he worked for at least 4 hours, then you pay him double the basic rate. Did he work for more than 4? Yes, he worked for 5 and 6 hours. So for this Sunday and for this holiday, I will pay him double the basic rate. To whom? To Mr. Z. Okay, and on 5th and 13th August he worked for 10 hours and 9 hours respectively. On 5th August, 13th August he worked for 10 hours 9 hours, means this was his overtime. Yes, now for overtime I should pay him overtime premium, but as per the condition here, overtime premium will be paid, that premium twice the hourly rate is the premium, that premium will be paid only if he works for more than 9 hours a day. Now on this day, 5th and 13th August, he worked for 10 hours and 9 hours respectively, but you know that during every single day 30 minutes he will also take a break. Naturally 10 hours he did not work continuously, he took a break in between. Consider the break time in on that 5th and 13th August also. Look, only for the 15th August and that Sunday he said that it was without a lunch break. The rest all the days he had taken a break. Even on this overtime days, yes, he must have taken a break. So because of the break, his effective hours would be not 10 hours and 9 hours. Effective time worked would become 9.5 hours and 8.5 hours. Yes, and plus within that also, if his effective hourly work was 9.5 hours and 8.5 hours, then in that he will be paid overtime for which day? On 5th August, he worked for 10 hours. 13th August, he worked for 9 hours. For working 9 hours, does he get overtime? No. So for that 13th August when he worked for 9 hours, no overtime will be paid, because there was a condition here that overtime is paid only if he works for more than 9, not equal to 9. Anyways, here his working time is not even 9, working time is only 8.5 hours. Okay, and on 5th August he worked for 10 hours, effectively 9.5 hours. Does he get overtime? Yes, his working time is more than 9, so yes, he will get overtime for that. So for this 8.5 hours, no overtime he will get, but 9.5 hours, yes, he will get overtime. Done? Yes. Okay. So if he has actually worked for 9.5, yes, he will get overtime. He will get overtime for the hours that he worked above 8. How much hours did he work above 8 hours? Above 8 hours he worked for 1.5. No, he worked for 2 hours. Because look, lunch break, you cannot cut the wages for lunch break. Lunch break is supposed to be a paid break. So when you calculate wages to be paid, he has to be paid wages for the lunch break also. Yes, so for wages payment, you consider his work 10 hours minus 8 hours, 2 hours he will get overtime. Done? Yes. Okay. And during the month Z, this Mr. Z worked 100 hours on job HT200. That is one detail given. Further, you are required to calculate earnings per day. You are required to calculate effective wage rate per hour of Mr. Z. Now try to understand the difference in these two questions. First, they are asking you earnings per day. Second, they are asking you wage rate per hour of Mr. Z. So, in the second question, they are specifically asking you to find this for Mr. Z. But in first question, they didn't mention anything, meaning that first question earnings per day will be general earnings of the company. General earnings in general for all employees, not for specific Mr. Z. Done. Mr. Z has worked overtime. Mr. Z has worked on Sundays and holidays also. But that I will not consider when I calculate general earnings per day. In general, all my employees earn how much per day is my first question. In fact, that first question I can easily answer from the general data of the question. From this general data only we can easily answer that first question. Let me show that data here itself. They're asking us earnings per day. Earnings per day. What is the basic salary per day? Basic salary per day is 1000 rupees. Okay. Dearness allowance is 20% of basic salary, that is 200. House rent allowance 16% of basic salary, so 160. Transport allowance is 50 per day, so 50 rupees, that also you add. Overtime is not a part of general salary. Overtime will be paid only if overtime is done. Yes, so skip that. Further, your holiday and Sunday wages. Holiday and Sunday wages are also paid only if holiday and Sunday is worked. It is not a part of my general wages. Yeah, it is not a part which is paid to every employee. So that also I skip. Then employers contribution to provident fund and employers contribution to pension fund. Provident fund, pension fund. Provident fund you pay 12% of basic and dearness allowance. Well, my basic plus dearness allowance is 1200, and it says here that you pay 12% of that 1200, that is 144. And pension fund is 7% of basic plus DA. Basic plus DA was 1200 into 7% is 84. All these items will be part of my answer number 1, that is your earnings per day. General earnings per day. Let us add up and get the total. General earnings per day is 1000 plus 200 is 1200 plus 160 and 50 plus 144 and 84. That gives you 1638 per day. This 1638 per day, I can say, becomes your answer to the first question, question 1. Done? Yes. Look, the solution given in the RTP for this question is given in a very little long and little confusing way. I'm just simplifying it and putting it in more simpler terms here. So first question, your answer should come as 1638 per day directly from the items of the question. Done? Yes. So I'll show you that in the solution that they have given. I'm showing the solution just to prove to you that it matches with my answer. Because they have given it a very long method of calculation. In the solution given, they have a very long method of calculation, but ultimately answer is 1638 earnings per day. You can get that directly as per the method which I showed you. Done? Yes. So I suggest you follow this method only, that you take basic salary 1000 as given per day, DNS allowance 200 per day. Look, I have just added all the items in terms of per day. What they have done in their solution is that they have converted all items into total by multiplying number of days, and then finally they divide the number of days to get it per day. Isn't that unnecessary long efforts? Unnecessary extra efforts you have done that. First you convert everything into 26 days, then you divide 26 days to convert it into per day. Might as well you just add up everything on per day basis. Done? Yes. That gives you earnings per day 1638. Okay? So that 1638 is the general earnings per day for every employee. Now for specific Mr. Z. For Mr. Z, what will be his effective earnings per hour? Well, for that matter, what I'll do is I will identify Mr. Z's total earnings of the month, divide by Mr. Z's total working hours of the month. Yeah, this working I will show you in my separate working note over here. Okay, now for this working, for the purpose of this working, question 2, second part. Here I need to identify the total wages that Mr. Z is earning. So let us start adding what all things he will earn. First of all, look, these are the questions where the solution given in the RTP might be a little confusing. So I am creating my own simpler solution here. Yeah. So question 2 part 1 I showed you in the question itself. Question 2 part 2 is what I show you here. Basic salary of Mr. Z involves various components. Out of the basic salary that you pay Mr. Z, some days are regular days, some days are overtime days. So chalo, to simplify that, first let me show you a working to show you that what days are there in Mr. Z's salary. Now this Mr. Z's wages that you will pay will be based on the number of days that he works. You are specifically given in the question that 23 days he worked. Mr. Z worked for 23 days. You are given that here. He works for 23 days and 3 days of casual leave. 23 days worked and 3 days leave. But will he be paid wages for the leave days also? Yes, because casual leave is a paid leave given in the question. So he will be paid wages for that 3 days of leave. He will be paid wages for 23 days that he worked. In fact, the question clearly shows that this 23 days worked further contains some components like this. They have said that 23 days he worked, but that 23 working days includes Sundays and holidays. How many Sundays and holidays did he work? It includes 15th August and a Sunday. So 2 days of Sundays and holidays is included there. So Sundays and holidays are 2 days. Sundays and holidays, yes. Plus they have also said that on 5th August and 13th August he worked for 10 hours and 9 hours, meaning overtime. Look, as per the solution given in the RTP, in my opinion, there is a mistake in that solution. I'll tell you what is the mistake a little later. As of now, let me explain my answer here. They say that during August, he works for 23 days. So naturally, 5th August and 13th August is a part of the month of August only. 5th August and 13th August is a part of August month. So that is definitely part of this 23 days. So I say that this 23 days also includes another 2 days where he did overtime work. 2 days of overtime work is included there, and balance out of 23 days given for working, 2 days were Sundays and holidays, 2 days were overtime working. I'll say balance 19 days are regular days. Regular means neither Sunday holiday nor it is overtime day, it is regular day only. Yes, this is the total working done by Mr. Z. Yeah. Now, on regular days, how many hours does he work? Effectively, how many hours does he work? On regular days, effectively he works for 7.5 hours per day. Yes, because half an hour break he will take. Yes. On the leave days, how many hours did he work? Naturally, on the leave days, he worked for 0 hours. But still, he will be paid wages for that, but hours will be 0. Okay. On the overtime days, how many hours did he work? On the overtime days, how many hours did he work? You were told that over here that on the overtime days, he worked for 10 hours, 9 hours. Effectively, he worked for 9.5 hours and 8.5 hours. Yes, for that 8.5, you will not pay him overtime, but it is still considered in his working hours. Yes, I will need that working hours later in the question. So, for the overtime days, his hours turns out to be 9.5 hours and 8.5 hours. And during Sunday and holiday, he worked for 5 hours and 6 hours. You are given that. Now, if I add all these up, it gives me total working hours. If I add this all up, it will give me total working hours of Z. It should be, I'll start from 19 days into 7.5 hours is 142.5 plus 9.5 overtime plus 8.5 overtime plus 5 Sunday and plus 5 holiday. The total working hours is 171.5 hours. Done? Yes. Okay. And now that I have understood the days and hours of his working, I can now identify his wages. total wages of Mr. Z. In that, basic salary. Basic salary I will show in various components. I'll show basic salary of regular days. How many regular days as per this chart here? How many regular days does he work? Regular working days is 19 days. So for regular 19 days, he will get basic salary of 1000 rupees definitely. Yes. Plus he will also get basic salary during the overtime days. Naturally, look, during overtime days, basic salary he will definitely get, plus he will get overtime salary also. Yeah. So during that overtime days also, during the overtime days, he will get regular salary. 2 days of overtime, 1000 rupees regular salary he will get. Yeah. Plus he will get salary for Sundays and holidays. During Sundays and holidays, has he worked? Yes. But you were told that during Sundays and holidays, if he works for more than 4 hours, then you will give him double the basic salary. Yes. So how many days? 2 days. And for these 2 days, I will pay him double of the basic salary. So I pay him 2000 for these 2 days. Yes. And finally, I will also pay him basic salary for the leave days. Naturally, because that leave is a paid leave. 3 days of paid leave. And I pay him 1000 rupees for that. Let us calculate total. This is 19,000 plus 2,000 plus 4,000 plus 3,000. Makes a total of 28,000 basic salary. So 28,000 is the basic salary that Z will get. Now, if he gets 28,000 basic salary, then other items now I can keep adding. After basic salary, I calculate his dearness allowance, I calculate his house rent allowance, HRA, same items that we had been given in the question. I calculate his travel allowance, employer's contribution to provident fund, employer's contribution to pension fund. All these items I will keep adding. Plus finally, I will also add overtime wages that he should be paid. Yes, let us add all of that. Basic is 28,000. Dearness allowance should be, as per the question, dearness allowance is 20% of basic. HRA is 16% of basic. Travel allowance, notice, transport allowance is 50 per day of actual work. Now this guy Z has done actual work for how many days? Did he do actual work for all these days? No. He has done actual work for how many days? Regular 19 days, did he do actual work? Yes. Overtime, did he actually work? Yes. Sundays and holidays also, yes, he has actually worked. He has not worked for only these 3 days. Yes. So if the travel allowance says that you pay him 50 per day of actual work, his actual working days are these 23 days worked. Yeah. So the total travel allowance he will get will be rupees 50 per day into 23 days worked will be his travel allowance. Then provident fund and pension. Provident fund is 12%, pension fund contribution is 7%, but both of these are percentage of basic salary plus dearness allowance. We'll have to add basic plus DA for that matter, okay? And overtime wages I will clarify a little later. First, let us add the other items. So dearness allowance is 20% of basic, that is 28,000 into 20% is 5,600. Okay, HRA is 16% of basic, so 28,000 into 16%, 4480. Look, they told earlier that whatever double basic salary you pay during Sundays and holidays, that will also be eligible for allowances, for all the allowances, meaning for calculating dearness allowance, you include that in basic. You include the double basic in basic. For calculating HRA also, you include the Sundays, holidays ka double basic in basic. Yes, okay. Transport allowance is 50 per day into 23 days. 50 into 23 is 1150. Yeah. Then provident fund and pension is 12%, 7% of basic plus dearness allowance. That is 28,000 plus 5,600. 28,000 plus 5,600 is 28,000 plus 5,600 is basic plus DA, and that is 33,600 into 12% is 4032, and 28,000 plus 5,600 into 7% is 2352. All these are the wages that Mr. Z will earn. Plus, he will also earn overtime wages. Overtime is paid double the rate. Read the question. Overtime is paid twice the hourly rate of basic and DA. Now, my basic is 1000 per day, DA is 200 per day. So, total becomes 1200 per day. I'll show that here. Basic 1000 per day, DNS allowance 200 per day, total becomes 1200 per day, and in one day he is effectively working how many hours? One day effective working is 7.5 hours. So work out 1200 divided by 7.5 is 160. And they say during overtime you pay double of this basic rate, double of the hourly rate. So if this is my hourly rate, 160 per hour, therefore overtime rate is double of 160, that is 320 per hour. Yes, so my overtime rate is 320 per hour, and this guy will be paid overtime rate 320 per hour for how many hours? For only 2 hours, because out of the 2 days of overtime that he did, out of the 2 days of overtime that he did, 5th August and 13th August, 5th August he worked for 10 hours. Yes, he will get overtime. 13th August he worked for 9 hours. He will get overtime only if he works for more than 9 hours. He did not work for more than 9 hours. He won't get overtime for 13th August. He will get overtime only for 5th August when he worked for 10 hours, and he will get overtime for every hour after 8 hours. So 8 to 10, 2 hours extra he will get overtime. 320 per hour into 2 hours is the overtime he will get. That is 640 rupees is the overtime premium that he will get. Add them up, I'll make the total 28,000 plus 5,600 plus 4480 plus 1150 plus 4032 plus 2352 and plus 640 makes it 46254 as the total wages of Z, and they have actually asked us effective wages, wage rate per hour. So if the total wages is 46254 divided by effective working hours, Look, they are asking us to find effective wage rate. So I should identify the hours also, which is effective working hours. Effective working hours. Well, that's the reason I had deducted break time in all my hours calculation. Yes, that's the reason I deducted the break time in all my hours calculation. So my effective working hours of Z is 171.5 hours. That 171.5 is what I divide here. Gives 269.7 per hour as the effective hourly rate of worker Z. Yes, and the third question they are asking is now very simple. Third question they ask is wages to be charged to that job HT200. What wages will I charge to that job? Well, how many hours did Z work on that job? Your job was using 100 hours. So it will be charged wages for that 100 hours. My third answer. Wages of job HT200 should be equal to 100 hours at rupees 269.7 per hour. That is 26,970. Done? Yes. So this is my question number 2 from the RTP. I showed you the entire solution here because the solution given in the RTP might not be very easily understandable. Plus, in the solution given in the RTP, I believe there is a mistake. You see that in their workings, they identified working hours worked by Z. They have identified as 186.5. No, according to my answer, it should come 171.5. And to that extent, your final answer will be different. Done? Yes. Okay. Then so that completes question number 2 discussion. Next, question 3 discussion I will do. Question 3 is an overheads chapter question. But question 3 also I will discuss directly in the question itself here. Like I answered first part of question 2 here in the question itself. Question 3 also I can show you the answer here itself. Yeah. Dekho question 3. It's from the overhead chapter. It is a simple question for machine hour rate. You are given 3 machines, machine A, B and C, and you need to find machine hour rate for all these machines. How do you find that? Well, simple. You need to identify overheads of each machine divided by hours of each machine will give you machine hour rate. Now you see here that they have 3 machines A, B and C. Certain overheads of the machine are already given machine wise. Certain overheads of the machine are already given machine wise, but some other overheads like this needs to be distributed between machine ABC on some ratio. That ratio should be given. Yes, that ratio should be given. We'll see what are the ratios given. You have your depreciation given for each machine separately. Spare parts is already given machine wise. Power cost not given machine wise, you need a ratio. Consumable stores already given. Insurance of machine, indirect labor, building maintenance expense, these 3 items not given machine wise, you need a ratio to distribute them machine wise. Annual interest on capital outlay. Well, interest on capital outlay, remember, for my costing subject, interest is not a costing expense. You should know that we've done that earlier. Interest cost is not a costing expense. Interest cost is always ignored in costing subject. Interest is not a costing expense. Ignore that. Yep. Monthly charges for rent and rates. Rent is also something that is given under common, you need to distribute that between machines. Salary of foreman, salary of attendant also you have to distribute. The foreman and attendant control all three machines and spend equal time on them. If they are spending equal time on them, so my salary of foreman will be distributed equally, 1:1:1. I'll distribute that equally. Salary of attendant also will be distributed equally between machine A, B and C. So all you have to do is this 42,000, 12,000 divide by 3, put it in all columns. Done? Yes. Further, the following additional information is also available. You are given now some additional info. Estimated direct labor hours you are given. Ratio of kilowatt rating you are given. And floor space you are given. So think which item I can use as base for what. Now it's very clear. Dekho, you had power cost for which the bifurcation was pending, but now you know it will be distributed based on what? Power cost will be distributed in ratio of the kilowatts given. Power cost will be distributed in the ratio of the kilowatts given. What is the ratio of kilowatts given? Ratio of kilowatt rating is 3:3. So power cost will be divided in the ratio 3:3. Yes. Next, consumable stores is already given. Insurance of machine. Insurance of machinery is given common, but ratio is not given. Yes. Now think logically. If insurance of machine is not distributed machine wise, logically it should be distributed based on value of machines. We've done that in our classwork. Insurance of machine must be based on value of machines. Are you given value of machines? No, but you are given depreciation of machines. And if depreciation is given for each machine, don't you think that machine depreciation will also be based on value of machines? Has to be. Yes. So machine will depreciate based on machine value. If machine will depreciate based on machine value, so machine depreciation given here is also based on value of machines. If depreciation is already based on value of machines, then insurance of machine can be distributed in that same ratio. Insurance will be distributed in the ratio of depreciation, because depreciation itself indicates value of machines. Yes. What is that ratio? 75, 75, 50. That is, I can say 3:2. 75, 75, 50. Yeah. Indirect labor will be divided in the ratio of direct labor, because that is the nearest thing that you are given. You are given direct labor details. Dekho, you are given the direct labor hours. Direct labor hours is 1,00,000, 150 and 150. Yes, 1,00,000, 150 and 150. That is ratio of 2:3:3. So it will be distributed in the ratio of the direct labor hours. That is 233. 1,00,000, 150, 150. Yes, that is 233. Okay. Then building maintenance expense. Building. Remember in my classwork we have done this. Building related any cost, whether it is building rent or whether it is building maintenance or whether it is building depreciation. Any cost related to the factory building should be distributed in ratio of floor area. So building related cost should be based on the floor area. Area you are given. You are given the floor space, floor area as 40, 40 and 20. That is 2:2:1. 40, 40, 20 is 2:1 ratio. So it will be divided in the ratio of area, which is 2:2:1. Okay. building maintenance expense. Interest cost is ignored, we already discussed that. And rent should also be based on area, that is again 2:2:1. Yes, foreman and attendant is distributed equally, that is already given over here. Done? Yes. So all you have to do is distribute all items of cost according to the ratio which I mentioned here. Then you get the total. Get the total over its total cost of each machine, and that total cost will be divided by, I'll show that here. Divided by machine hours. The total, if you divide by machine hours, it should give you, therefore, machine hour rate. Yes, yeah. Let us also calculate machine hours. I'll show the machine hours calculation here. For that matter, read this last paragraph. It says there are 12 holidays besides Sundays in a year. 12 holidays in a year. And Sundays, how many Sundays will be there in a year? 52 Sundays are there in a year. You should know that. Yeah. Of which 2 were on a Saturday. Okay. So out of 12 holidays in a year, 2 were on Saturdays. Total how many Saturdays in a year? There should be total how many Saturdays in a year? 52. Yes. And out of that 52 Saturdays, 2 of them were falling on a holiday. So 12 holidays, 2 of which were on a Saturday. So out of 52 Saturdays in a year, 2 of them were on a holiday. How many are remaining Saturdays? Remaining Saturdays are 50 Saturdays in a year. Yes. The manufacturing department works 8 hours a day, but Saturdays are half days. So regular days you work 8 hours a day, Saturdays are half days. Yeah. All the machines work at 90% capacity throughout the year, and 2% is reasonable for breakdown. So now I'll calculate the machine hours. I'll show the calculation here itself. My machine hours calculation for regular days and Saturdays. Regular days, how many regular days in a year? 365 days total minus 52 Sundays minus 12 holidays and minus 50 remaining Saturdays. Yes, so 365 minus 52 minus 12 minus 50 is 251. Just a minute. (251) days, and on each of that 251 regular days you work for 8 hours per day. Yeah, plus on Saturday, how many Saturdays? 50 Saturdays in the year, you work for 4 hours. This makes it total 251 into 8 hours is 2008 memory plus, and 50 into 4 is 200 memory plus, total 2208. Total 2208 hours is your machine hours worked, but in that 2208 hours they say that machines work at only 90% capacity. 2208 is the full capacity, they worked only 90%, so into 90%. Yes, and 2% is reasonable for breakdown, so again you will do also minus 2% will be normal breakdown, expected estimated breakdown. So from 2208, adjust these two things, 2208 into 90% minus 2% should give you 1947. 1947.456. Chalo, that is rounded off to 1948. It is rounded off to the higher side. You can round off to the lower side also. With the solution given here, they have rounded off to higher side. So I'll keep it like that. 1948 hours is the total hours that you see here. Done. Yes. Now this 1948 hours is my machine hours, which I will divide in every machine. And that should give me machine hour rate. Done. Yes. Now all we have to do is apply these ratios, split the common cost according to the ratios and get the totals. Done. Yes. Okay. I'll just make that calculations done very fast. Okay. So if I split them according to the ratios, this is what I get. But still, this is not the end. There are still some more things that are given in the question. Dekho. Also notice that the salary of the power cost 4 lakhs I divided in ratio 3 to 3, I get like this. Then insurance of machine I divide in the ratio of depreciation, so I get it like this. Indirect labor was divided in the ratio of direct labor. Okay. Building maintenance was in the ratio of area 2:2:1. Rent was divided again in the ratio of area 2:2:1. And salary of foreman, salary of attendant is distributed equally. But this salary given over here is per month. All my other items of data is per annum. So I have to convert them all into per annum. My other data here, dekho, all these other details are per annum. So whichever details you see which is given per month, you should convert them into per annum. So my salary of foreman I converted into per annum. Salary of attendant also I converted into per annum. And well, rent also monthly I should convert that into per annum. I'll just do that now. So 8,000 into 12, 96,000. I'll put that here. And 48,000. In short, whichever items were given monthly, I convert that into per annum. That is what I get over here. Done? Yes. Okay. Now, some adjustments are also given. Read further. You are required to calculate predetermined machine hour rates, okay, for the above machines after taking into consideration the following factors. Some adjustments you are given. They say an increase in 15% in price of spare parts. So spare part prices are increasing by 15%. So my spare part cost over here will also increase by 15% accordingly. Okay, we'll do that. 25 increase of 25% in consumption of spare parts. So देखो spare part price is increasing 15%, spare part consumption is increasing 25% for machine B and C only. So I'll give both that adjustments here. My spare part price will increase for all of them. Spare part consumption is increasing in only B and C. So my spare part cost in machine A will become what? 40,000 it was given, but price is increasing by spare part price is increasing by 15%, spare part consumption is increasing by 25%. In machine A, only price increase 15% will apply. So in machine A, spare part price increase by 15%, 40,000 plus 15% makes it 46,000. I know my work becomes little untidy, but that is how you speed up the work. I'll just speed up there here. Yeah, in machine B, 40,000 plus 15% price increase and plus 25% consumption increase. So that makes it 57,500. And machine C, 20,000 plus 15% price increase plus 25% consumption increase, 28,750 becomes my new value of spare parts there. Done? Yes. Okay. So spare part, both adjustments done, 15% price increase, 25% consumption increase, and one more adjustment, 20% increase in the wage rates. Now if wage rate increase by 20%, it will apply to whom? It will apply to the wages. Which wages are you given? You are given wages of indirect labor. This indirect labor wages that you are given, now they say that they are increasing by 20%. So I will distribute them in 233 ratio, plus I will increase them 20%. Yes, so my wages for machine A 50,000, I'll take plus 20% makes it 60,000. Similarly, machine B 75,000 plus 20% makes it 90,000. And same way machine C also, total becomes 90,000. Done? Yes, this now completes my question. Dekho, that completes all my adjustments. This was the last adjustment, 20% increase in the wage rates. Done? Yes. Now that all adjustments done, now I will identify the summation of all items here. Divide by 1948 machine hours should give me machine hour rate. Yes, I'll do the summation very fast. Okay, so if I just add them all up, it gives me the totals in each column like this. Divide by 1948 machine hours, it gives me machine hour rate like this. Yes, this answer will match with the answer given in your RTP. Yeah, and the method which I have shown here is a more simplified method than the one given in the RTP. Done? Yes. Okay. So that covers my question number 3. One more question I need to discuss in detail, that is question 8. Question 8, which is job costing, batch costing question. So I'll scroll down till question 8 over here. They say that question 8 is job costing question, but in my opinion it is more of materials chapter question. Remember, in materials chapter we have done in materials chapter we have done something called as stock register. Stock register, where you identify the material issues, material receipt, material issues, and the balance material, and you do all that by FIFO method, weighted average method. Yes, that same kind of stock register we will be preparing here, because here the materials which are issued to the job, they have not given the cost of materials issued. Instead, they have given opening stock of materials, they have given purchase of materials, and they have given details about the materials quantity issued. You need to find valuation of that materials issued. They have also told that the company follows weighted average method for the pricing of material issues. Yes, so I will make a stock register by weighted average method. Let me first remind you, stock register, we had done that in materials chapter. I'll remind you, we had done that in materials chapter, and in my book it must have been question number 11, this one. Yes, and the stock register that we had done, would look like this. This is the stock register we had learnt. You make the stock register like this, where you show receipts, issues, and balance, and you make that stock register day wise. Yes, now if I make this by weighted average method, let me remind you what were the specialities in weighted average method. Dekho, as per weighted average method, if my materials was issued out of opening stock, then it will be valued at the same rate as opening. You see that here. Yes, my rate, my weighted average rate will change only when there is a new purchase done. Only when some new purchase is done, then only the weighted average rate will change. Otherwise, weighted average rate remains the same. Do you remember that? Yes, only when some new purchase, new receipt of material happens, only then the weighted average rate will change. I'll make use of this for my answer now. Yeah. Now in the question, in the RTP question, the problem is that they have given 5 different types of material. In this RTP question, yes, they have given 5 different types of material, and so you need to make stock register of 5 different types of material. I will show you a format in which I can make that stock register in by cutting the time short. Yes, I can make the stock register in a faster way. I'll show you format for that. We'll read. AP Limited receives job order for supply and fitting of plumbing materials. Following are the details related with the job work. You're given direct materials of AP Limited uses weighted average method for pricing material issues. Opening stock of materials as on 12th August. You are given opening stock, you are given here. And my opening stock involves 5 different types of material. They have given very long name of the material. I will cut short the name. I'll call this as first material is 15M, second material is 20M, third material is other, fourth material is say stainless steel faucet. I'll call that as SS, and fifth material is the valve. You are given quantities for each of the material, and you are given the price of each of that material. Okay. Then purchases you are given. Purchases you are given for 16th August, 18th August, 27th August. And then issues you are given on 12th August, 17th August, 28th August and 30th August. Now you know that when you make a stock register, you should show all the items date wise. Let me just put the dates together. I'll just write again here, purchases were for which dates. Your issue is for 12th August, 17th, 28th and 30th August. Purchase is of which time? Purchase is of 16th, 18th and 27th. Purchase is on 16th, 18th and 27th. Yes. So let me show you how will I make the format. Let me show you how will I make the format of stock register here. Yeah, just a minute. Okay, now look at this. This is my stock register that I have made showing all materials together. Yes, I've just made my stock register columnar. 15 meter material, 20 mm wala material, other materials, SS material and valve is the material. Total 5 materials, and for all 5 materials I start from opening stock, and then date wise I will show all the issues or receipts. Instead of showing separate column for issues and receipts, I will show them all together. Issues I will show as negative because it will reduce my stock, and receipt I will show as positive as it will increase the stock. Done? Yes. You don't need to make separate working notes for each of that material. I can get all of that together here. Yes. What I have written here right now is my opening stock. I'll show you that in the question. As per my question, this was my opening stock. 12 units at rupees 600. 12 units of 15M at rupees 600 makes it total 7,200. 12 into 6. I'm not writing the rate, I'm directly writing the amount, because you know that for a weighted average method I need a total of units and a total of amount. So units and amount is what I'm writing. Yeah, quantity and amount. Similarly, my opening stock of second material, 20 mm material, is 10 units at rupees 660, so amounts to 6,600. Third is 60 units at 26, so amounts to 1560. Similarly, for 6 units at 204 and 8 units at 404 is amounting to this. These are my opening stock. Now for the purchases or issues, purchase and issues both I will show, but I need to show them date wise. So if I need to show that date wise, That is why I have written all the dates together here. My issues are starting from 12th August. Purchases are starting from 16th August. Which happens first? 12th August happens first. So first I will adjust 12th August. What happens on 12th August? Dekho, on 12th August 20M material and other materials are issued. 20M 2 units are issued. If materials are issued on 12th August, how do I show that here? Chalo. On 12th August, I am issuing 20M and other materials. 20M is this and other materials is this. In both these columns I need to show issue. 2 units of 20M. 20M material, 2 units I issued. So 2 units I issued here, and other materials 18 units I issued. But what will be the value of these materials issued? Right now there is only one value. So you find the value as per the current rate. Current rate value you can get from this amount here. All you have to do is 6600 divided by 10 into 2. 6600 divided by 10 into 2 is 1320 is the value of materials issued here. And similarly 1560 divided by 60 is the weighted average rate into 18. 1560 divided by 60 into 18 is 468. This is my story of 12th August. Next story happens on 16th August. Yes, so my next date to be considered is 16th August, and what happens on 16th August is purchase. On 16th August I have purchase. What am I purchasing? Material 20M and valve. Two materials I am purchasing. First, material 20M, 30 units at rupees 610. 30 units into 610 is amount 18,300. And when do I purchase that? On 16th August. I show my next entry here. 16th August, material 20M, I purchased 30 units. I purchased, so I show that as positive, not negative. So purchase, I show positive, 30 units I purchase and valued as 18,300. Yes. Also on 16th August, I purchased a valve. How many units of valve did I purchase? 10 units valve I purchased at 402, that is 4020 value. So valve 10 units valued 4020. That completes my story of 16th August. Okay. Next date. Next event happens 12th August ho gaya, 16th August done. Next event is on 17th August here. So 17th August is my third. Then 18th August I will show fourth item. Then 27th August I will show fifth item. And then sixth item 28th August issue. 7th item 30th August issue. Yes, you have the sequence. So 17th August I have issued 15M and other materials. 15M 8 units I issued. So 15M is this 15M, and date today is 17th August. 8 units I issued. What will be the value? Value you can find by cross multiply here, because so far in 15M there is no other purchases done. So my value will be at the rate of opening. 7200 divided by 12 into 8 is 4800 here. Yes. Also on 17th August, other materials 30 units I issued. Other materials is this 30 units I issued. But you notice that even in other materials there is no fresh purchase done. And I just told you that as long as no fresh purchase is done, then my issue rate will be same as the opening rate. So for this 30 also same as opening rate. 1560 divided by 60 into 30. 1560 divided by 60 into 30 makes it 780. As long as fresh purchase is not done, my issue rate will be same as the opening rate. Yes, so you notice here that my 12th August 20 was issued at the rate of opening. Other materials were issued at the rate of opening. Now also other materials are issued at the rate of opening. This 15 is also issued at the rate of opening. So far all my issues have happened at the rate of opening only. Yes, that completes my 17th August story. Then 4th is on 18th August purchases. How much is the purchase? We'll see that here. On 18th August my purchase is other materials and SS. Now other materials has a fresh purchase. Other materials 150 units at 28. 150 into 28 is 4200. So I'll show purchase in other materials on 18th August. 150 units valued 4200. Yes. Also on 18th August, stainless steel 15 units at 209. 15 units into 209 is 3135 on 18th August for SS. 18th August for SS, 15 units, 3135 is a fresh purchase here. Okay, that completes my story of 18th August purchase. 18th August. Next event 4th के बाद 5th is on 27th August, again purchase. 27th August again your purchase. 3 items purchased here. For 15 35 units at 628. 35 into 628 is 21,980. Is in material 15 then in material 20 20 units you purchased at 660, that is 13,200. Units valued 13,200. And valve you purchased 14 units valued 424, that is 5936. So now with that, this completes all my purchases. Now if this completes all my purchases, meaning now whatever issues are done, rate will remain same. Still there are 2 days where materials are issued on 28th August and on 30th August. Both these days material issues are there, but now if there is no more purchases done, then my issue price will remain the same. That is the speciality about weighted average method. Yes. So now the issue price will remain the same. So let us make a total and identify the weighted average rates now. Because after this, whatever materials will be issued, it will be issued at the same rate. Yeah, at the same rate, same as the total rate here. Yeah. What I call this here is my balance material now. So in 15 just make a total of units and a total of value. You know that weighted average rate is amount column total divided by units column total. Same thing you do over here. So 12 minus 8 plus 35 is 39 total here. And amount 7,200 minus 4,800 plus 21,980 is 24,380. Likewise, I make totals in all other columns. It gives me 58. Okay, now that I have these balance values, now whatever issues are done, whether the issue is done on 28th or whether the issue is done on 30, In any case, it will be issued at the same rate. Yeah, let us put all that. 28th, I issued 20M material, 2 units. 20M material, 2 units are issued. Then 15M material, 10 units are issued. Then other materials, 34 units are issued. Then valve, 6 units are issued. On 30 August, other materials, 60 units are issued. And SS, 15 units are issued. All these issues will now be valued at the weighted average rate. So as on 28th August, as on 30th August, as on these dates, what is the weighted average? These are the weighted average values. That is why I calculated the balance, because now there are material issues to be done. So you notice that these issues, this issue, and this issue, these 4 issues are done at the rate of opening, because before this issue there was no other purchase done, and all the issues done on 28th and 30 August are done based on weighted average, because there were purchases done before that. Done? Yes. So now I can identify. How do I calculate a value of this 10 units? Cross multiply 24,380 divide by 39 into 10. 24,380 divide by 39 into 10 makes it 6251 point something. I'll keep it 6251. Similarly, over here also cross multiply 36780 divide by 58 is my weighted average rate into 2 units I issued, that is 1268. Similarly, for other materials, both the places I can just use cross multiply. Weighted average rate is 4512 divided by 162. 4512 divided by 162. This is my weighted average rate into 34, 947. And that same rate into 60 would give 1671. Okay. Similarly, for SS, if you work out, it will give you 3114 cross multiply and 2473. Yes, these are all my issues done at the end of the month. What you require, look that all these materials were issued for a particular job. If all these materials were issued for a particular job, then these material issued will become material cost in that job. It will become material cost in that job. So what I can now do is I will now make a total here to identify the total value of materials issued. Yes, total issue value. Total value of materials issued. What will I add? I will add this, all the negative values, 4800 plus 6251. 4800 plus 6251 makes it 11051. Becomes the total value of first material consumed. Total value of first material consumed. Yeah. Second, 1320 plus 1268. 1320 plus 1268 gives 2588. Total value of second material consumed, this is. Third is 468, 780, 947 and 1671. All of that, 468 plus 780 plus 947 plus 1671. 3866 is the total value. Similarly, for SS, 3114 is the only item issued. And for the last material, this 2473 is the only item issued. In short, these values here are my values of the material cost incurred on that particular job. Done? Yes. Let us finish reading the question. So far we discussed only about the materials consumed in the job. Then you are given labor consumed in the job. It is directly given. Plumber 180 hours at rupees 100 including 12 hours of overtime, 192 hours at rupees 70 including 24 hours of overtime, and overtimes are paid 1.5 times of normal wage rate. So these 12 hours of overtime will be additionally paid what? 1.5 times is the total payment. So extra payment is 0.5. So it will be paid extra 50 per hour because original 12 is already included in 180 hours. Similarly, these 24 hours will be paid at the rate 35 extra. Done? Yes. Overheads are applied at 26 per labor hour. Which labor? Both labor, plumber and helper. Yes, 36 per labor hour of both plumber and helper. So materials you have, labor you have, overheads you have will give you total cost. Yes, and pricing policy, they say that price all the orders by achieving a profit margin of 25% on the sales price. So you need to add profit and get the sales. Now that can be done easily. Done? Yes, I will just show you this working here. Now that you have this working now continues in the solution given in your book. So look at the solution in your RTP. Question 8 that was. Yeah. Question 8 solution, you see here my material cost 15M material 11051, this 11051. Then 20M material 2588, this 2588. Other fitting material 3866, same as this 3866. And SS material is 3113, same as this 3114. Okay? And valve material is 2472, that is 2473, this 2473. Done? Yes. Instead of giving you these workings, now I have given you a detailed working note for that. Yeah, all these items I get from the working note that I gave. Yeah, accordingly that gives the total material cost as this. Then labor is directly calculated, plumber 180 hours into rupees 100 and 12 hours of overtime at rupees 50, helper 192 hours at 70 and overtime at 35, and overheads 26 per hour for both those hours gives me the total cost here. On that total cost, add the profit, gives you sales value here. Done? Yes, only important discussion here was the material which I explained in the form of this stock register. Done? Yes, and like I told you, all these explanations and workings that I give you here, I will put that in my link below the description. Link in the below description. Done? Yes. Okay, so this completes all important questions discussion from my RTP. Like I said, question 2, 3 and 8, these are the only 3 questions I discussed with my solution. Rest of the questions are mostly from the book that I have given to you. Plus some questions are little new. I'll show you the solutions given in the RTP itself. Dekho, I'll explain it from the RTP itself. So next, going for question number 4. Question 4, I would say a Ghatia question. I don't know why exactly have they made the question, because it is so easy, so simple that it is not worth the time also. But just because it is new, I'll discuss that. It's about activity based costing. You are given 5 activities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For each of the activity, your overheads are given. For each of the activity, cost drivers are given. And first question they are asking is to calculate the cost driver rate. What will you do to calculate cost driver rate? You take these overheads divided by these cost drivers, should give you cost driver rate. Can do that. Yes, that will be simple. And now using that cost driver rate, they want you to find cost of this order. You have produced a batch of 7,600 units in which material cost is this, wages are this, and the cost drivers consumed are these. You need to find a total cost of this batch. How will you find? Material is given, wages are given, then all these cost drivers multiply by respective cost driver rate should give you overheads of that order. Materials are given, direct labor is given, overheads you find like this, it will give you total cost of the batch. Can do that? Yes. Okay, that will be done. Question 5 is exactly from my book. I have given the page number, so I'll skip. Question 6 is also exactly from my book. 7 is also exactly from my book. Yeah. Question 8 we just discussed. Question 9 I will discuss now. Question 9 is regarding process costing, and question 9 is also very simple basic process costing question. Only few things important new I will show you. We'll read. M Limited produces product X which passes through 3 process 1, 2 and 3. In process 3 a byproduct arises. Byproduct you are given. Remember what are the treatments of byproduct? I'll just remind you my treatments of byproduct. Yeah. My treatments of byproduct were like these. There's the theory, class notes. My byproduct treatments I had explained like this, that if it is important and if it is not important. But if nothing is mentioned in the question, what will you assume? If nothing is mentioned in the question, always assume that byproduct is not important. That is why it is named as byproduct. Yes, and if that is the case, then my byproduct, you see that it will be treated like a normal loss. Meaning joint cost is not apportioned to the byproducts. Anyways, my question here does not have joint cost, but the sale value of byproduct is deducted from the joint cost. This was important. Sale value of byproduct should be deducted from joint cost. In other words, my byproduct will be credit in the process account itself. We had that in one question of byproduct also. We had that also in one of my question to show you. That was in question 18 from our joint products byproducts home assignment, and I'll directly show you in that solution. We had learnt in this solution, my explanation is also here, that in process 1 account, if you have a byproduct, then the byproduct is credit in the process account at the sale value of byproduct, net realizable value, NRV of the byproduct. Yes, now NRV means what? NRV means the sale value minus cost incurred to get that sale value. Net realizable value, not just the realizable value, you credit that here as at the net realizable value. In short, whatever net income I get from the byproduct, that income will decrease my process cost. This is exactly what I will do in my RTP question now. Dekho. Okay, so process 3 you have a byproduct. So my sale value of byproduct should be credit in process 3. That is why I will be explaining you mostly directly only process 3, which after further processing at a cost of 85 per unit, product Z is produced. So byproduct after further processing will give you product Z. Further processing of the byproduct will cost you 85 rupees. Okay? The information related for the month of August is as follows. You are given process 1, 2, 3. Normal loss you are given in every process. Materials are given in process 1. Then other materials for all process given. Wages, other expenses are given. They say production overheads for the month is 2,88,000, which is absorbed as a percentage of wages. Production overheads absorbed as a percentage of wages. Meaning you can just put that in a ratio of wages. So 2,88,000, you can just distribute that in a ratio of wages and put that in process 1, 2 and 3. Done? Yes. The scrap value, scraps are sold at 10 per unit. So look, देखो normal loss given in every process, that normal loss defectives will be sold at 10 per unit in every process. You are given same scrap value for every process. ठीक है? Product Z can be sold at rupees 135 with a selling cost of 15 per unit. So think what will be the effective NRV. Product Z is my byproduct. Product Z is the byproduct. So for that product Z, I can say that its NRV will be sale value 135 minus selling expense of 15 and minus further processing cost you incurred of 85. Yes, so 135 minus 15 minus 85. My effective NRV of that byproduct is 35. Done? Yes. So my NRV, my byproduct will be credit in process 3 at the rate of 35. Clear? Yes. Units you are given, dekho. Units produced in process 1, process 2, process 3 and byproduct are separately given. Yeah. You are supposed to prepare process 1, 2 and 3 account and byproduct process account. Yeah. In short, my process accounts. Dekho, now I'll show question 9. That is my process 1 account is regular routine process account. I'm not explaining. Process 2 account is also routine process account as usual that we have done in class. Process 3 account only I will explain. They told us that byproduct you had got 600 units of the byproduct here. Byproduct Z 600 units given. These 600 units valued at NRV 35 is credit in my process account. That is what you see here. 600 units at 35 is credit in the process account. In other words, I've told you that byproducts are treated like normal loss. Normal loss is credit in process account. Byproduct is also credit in the process account. Done? Yes. And accordingly, when you calculate process cost, you will consider that also. My process cost will be like this. Total of this debit side is 185,406 minus normal loss 2600 and minus byproduct 21,000. Yes, similarly units also same way I will divide. Units 5,200 minus normal loss units 260 and minus byproduct units 600. That gives me the rate. This becomes my cost per unit of the process. This rate is the one I use for evaluation of completed units and for valuation of abnormal gain. Both the cases same rate will be used. Done? Yes. Okay. I can say that this question is similar to, which one was it? Question 18, page 9.26. Let me write that in my summary. Question 18, page 9.26. Done? Yes. Okay. And then marginal costing question 13 and budgetary control question 14 I'll show you. Marginal costing, it is basic simple question for BEP and all those other calculations. You can solve that here itself. Dekho. J Limited manufactures product Y. Analysis of income statement indicates a profit of 250 lakhs. 250 lakhs profit given on a sales volume of 5 lakhs. So quantity given 5 lakhs, units given 5 lakhs. Output units or quantity given as 5 lakhs. Fixed cost are 1000 lakhs. Fixed cost is given, which appears to be high. Existing selling price is 680 per unit. Selling price is given. Company is considering revising the profit target to 700 lakhs. So my target profit is given 700. Present profit 250. Target profit given 700. And you are supposed to calculate break-even point at existing level. Break-even point at existing level. Well, for break-even point, you need fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Fixed cost, existing fixed cost. You already have 1000, but how to get existing contribution? Well, I'll show that here. My present fixed cost 1000, present profit 250, add them, it gives you present contribution. So my total contribution at present is 1000 plus 250. 1250. Yes, and this is from how many units? 1250 lakhs is my total contribution, and which is from how many units? Units. 5 lakh units. Divided gives me contribution per unit. 1250 divided by 5, 250. 250 is my contribution per unit. So break even point will be 1000 lakhs divided by 250. 1000 lakhs divided by 250. 4 lakhs is my break even point. Selling price you have, so you can convert into rupees also. Done? Yes. Second, number of units required to be sold to earn the target profit. Target profit, units required. What was your formula? It is F plus P upon contribution per unit. Fixed cost is 1000 lakhs plus target profit 700 lakhs. F plus P divided by contribution per unit is 250. 1700 divided by 250. 6.8 lakh units are required. 6.8 lakh are the units required. Answer number 2. Answer number 3. Profit with 10% increase in selling price and a drop in sales volume by 10%. Well, this you can calculate. Selling price you have is 680. Increase that by 10%. Units you have is 5 lakhs. Decrease that by 10% and accordingly make the full profit statement. Make the full profit statement. That is your answer number 3. And answer number 4. Volume to be achieved to earn a target profit at the revised selling price as calculated in 2 above. Revised selling price as calculated in 3 above it should be, because you have revised selling price over here. If reduction of 10% in variable cost and 170 lakhs in fixed cost is also envisaged. Yes. So again you are supposed to find volume to reach the target profit. After these changes, what changes? Revised selling price, that is 10% decrease in selling price. Let me calculate this. So in my fourth part here, selling price is 680 minus 10%, 612. My variable cost, they say, is selling price as calculated into above. If a reduction of 10% in variable cost, 10% reduction in variable cost. What was my old variable cost? Old variable cost was old selling price minus old contribution. 680 minus 250. Old variable cost was 430. It is expected to decrease 10%, minus 10%. So 387. Variable cost 387. 170 lakhs is reduction in my fixed cost. Fixed cost 1000 minus 170 lakhs. So 830 lakhs will be new fixed cost. And target profit 700 lakhs. So therefore units required will be F plus P upon contribution per unit. F plus P F plus P is 830 and 700, 1530 divided by contribution per unit divided by contribution per unit is 612 minus 387. 612 minus 387 is 225. So 830 plus 700 divided by 225 is 6.8 lakhs again. Done? Yes, pretty simple. That is your basic marginal costing equation. And budgets question. Budgets question is as such just a question to identify total cost. Yes, budgets question here is also similar to one of my classwork questions. Just give you a reference. Budgets question is equal to this classwork question 8. याद करो, this classwork question 8, you are given total budget over here, and then you are told that this company contains two products A and B. Then you are given bifurcation of A and B separately here. Same kind of question I have there. I'll just give this reference. It is page number 2.3, question 8. But we'll still see that question. Information of Z Limited for the year is as below. You are given material, wages, variable factory overheads, fixed factory overheads, other variable costs and other fixed costs. If you notice, it is exact same information as that classwork question. It's almost the same information like that classwork question. देखो. Same kind of question. देखो, direct material, direct wages, fixed factory, variable factory, other variable and other fixed costs. Same 6 items. Same 6 items you have here. Yeah, values are different. During the year, company manufactured two products X and Y, and output and cost were like this. This is also information is same. During the year, company manufactured two products A and B, output and cost were like this. Do you see the similarities? Yeah. Even the sentence after that, variable overheads, variable factory overheads are absorbed as percentage of direct wages. This also comes in my RTP question. Variable factory overheads absorbed as a percentage of direct wages, and other variable costs are as follows. So far, everything is same as the classwork question. Question 8 it was, is it? Yeah. Until here, everything is same as classwork question 8. That part I will not discuss. But then further, now for the next year, this was for my present year. Now for the financial year 2021, for the next year, so this was for the data for the year ended March 20, that is for the year 1920. Now for the next year 2021, due to the pandemic COVID-20 I should say, due to the pandemic, it is expected that demand for X and Y will fall by this percent. It is also expected that direct wages cost will raise by 20%, other fixed costs by 10%, products will be sold at a discount of 20%. So for the next year, they have just given changes in the price, changes in the quantity, changes in the wages and all. You just need to make adjustment of those changes and make a profit statement again. Done? Yes, they have asked you to required to make product wise profit statement for 1920 and budget for 2021, and they have asked you to make this on marginal costing method. Well, does the budget chapter have marginal costing method? Well, actually no, but what they are trying to say by marginal costing method means that you make the budget as sales minus variable cost is contribution, and then minus fixed cost is the profit. Anyways, that was the format we had done in classwork question 8. Same kind of question is this. Done? Yes. So this question here is also similar to that classwork question 8. You can refer that from classwork question 8. Done? Yes. Chalo, this completes my discussion regarding RTP, all practicals. Question 15 is a theory question, and almost all that theories are from my book only, so that you can read. Yes, I hope this helps you in your RTP preparation, and I hope this helps you to save time in your own RTP preparation. Yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you very much. All the best, study well, and hope you clear out the exams with flying colors. Yeah, do intimate us that what was your results and all after the exam. That's all. Thank you very much. Bye bye.